Okay guys, real quick before the video starts is a disclaimer. This is going to be a lot of rambling and mumbo jumbo about Poulan, the high top series of chainsaws. If you don't want to hear that, yeah, I understand. Don't watch the video. But it's very exciting if you're a fan of these saws because, long story short, Poulan was making port timing changes in their cylinders for the various different saws as they increased in level of performance. Essentially porting from the factory. It's brilliant. I love that. That is so good. Okay guys, so I am super excited about this video right here. Bear with me because I don't really have a direction to go with this. But I just learned from Jim, right, that he was told by Bob, which Bob used to be pretty high up in the Poulan world, that there were differences between the cylinders for the mid size of the high blocks. You know, you have the small blocks, which are your Poulan 3000, Poulan Pro 305, Poulan 3300, Poulan Pro 335, and, you know, Craftsman 3.3. Those are your small block high tops. Insert picture here, all right? Then you have your big blocks, right? Your big block high tops are your Poulan 3450 and 3750, and the Poulan Pro 330 and Poulan Pro Super 380, right? Well, right in the middle there are these, what I call the mid blocks. You know, they're a little bit awkward. You have the Poulan 3500, which the 3500 I think was the 54cc. I think. I'm not 100% sure. The Poulan Pro 3350? No, that's not right. I don't know what the 54cc Poulan Pro mid block was. I know that the 60cc Poulan Pro mid-size block was the 365. So anyways, if you're a watcher of the channel, you'll know that my Binford Bad Boy, as I call it, which is my own version of the Tim Allen Bad Boy saw. The Tim Allen Bad Boy saws are hard to come by, very hard to come by, and difficult. And if I had a nice one, I would not want to use it on a regular basis. So I took a Poulan Pro 330, and I added the 3750 cylinder to it. All right, so it ran great, but I screwed up that cylinder. It's right here. I took material off of the base by hand, and I messed it up. It's no longer completely flat. Now, it could be salvaged. It could totally be salvaged, but more of that later. I put this on there, and it ran great, but then it would develop an air leak as it heated up because I screwed up the base. Have no problems admitting when I'm wrong, guys. Anyways, so then I said, you know what? I managed to find somewhere a 365 cylinder, which it was in pristine condition, absolutely pristine condition. And that 365 cylinder, the only difference between it and the 3750 cylinder, as far as I knew, was that the 365 cylinder does not have the impulse line on the cylinder. It has it in the case of the saw, on the crankcase. So I made a video of it. I drilled a hole in the 365 cylinder, put it on my Binford Bad Boy. And what I noticed, I never told any of you guys this because, well, I mean, I just didn't think mostly. I attributed everything to, it's got a brand new ring in there that was a pristine cylinder. We need to go through break-in, right? But the reality is every time I've used that saw, I've liked it and I've enjoyed it, but I've went, it's lacking in power. It's lacking. And I was uncertain what to attribute that to. I just naturally attributed it to, the saw needing to break in because it was a fresh rebuild. Well, according to Mr. Bob, via Mr. Jim, I did not get this straight from Bob, but I do have plans of actually speaking with him, and I'm extremely excited about that because it's going to work out for a video that I'm creating. I've been researching. Remember a while back I said that I wanted to get to a point to where I spent a month or more making a very good, high-quality video. I'm working on my first one of those. And if I can get to talk with Bob and interview him a little bit, that'll be great. Anyways, so he says that those mid-block saws, the port timing and stuff was different on those versus the big, what I call the big block saws. Which would make perfect sense because what we know about the mid-block saws is their intake and carburetor is smaller than the big block saws. But everybody thinks, even me, like I know much of anything really. But we think that the cylinders are exactly the same. That's why I took a 365 cylinder and I drilled out for it and I put it onto my 3750 saw because I thought, well, the cylinder's the same, so might as well use it. But now that it's on there, I'm like, I don't know, it does feel a little bit different. But, you know, it's going to get sent to Dyno Joe and he's going to port it and bada bing, bada boom, right? Ta-da. Well, the only way you can tell the difference, because I'm looking at it and I don't see no difference whatsoever. None. So the only way that we're going to be able to tell a difference is if, by some streak of luck, I had multiple different cylinders that I could measure with a set of calipers. Well, I have a set of calipers. And I also have multiple different high-top 60cc cylinders. Boo, baby! Now, don't get mad at me and think that I'm a hoarder. I'm not. This one right here, it's questionable whether or not it's going to be any good. I can definitely clean it up and put it back into service for sure, but is it a pristine cylinder? I don't think so. These, these three right here came off of bad boys that I actually have, that I am restoring. I'm going to restore these three. So those are spent and used up. All right. This one is the one that I messed up. Like I said, it is salvageable. Absolutely. I feel 100% with that. That is salvageable. Just straighten that base out and run a base gasket. You'll be good to go. As it is, this is set up for 20,000 squish without the base gasket. So take 20 thousandths more off of this if you got it. You know, it'll flatten it out. Run a base gasket, you'll have your 20,000 squish. So it's still a good cylinder. And then there's this one, which is a 365 cylinder that I picked up by way of Ryan. Yeah, Ryan, he watches the channel too. So anyways, there we have it. So what we're going to do is first we're going to measure this cylinder. It's a 365. All right. So that's 1.5855. So let's do the exact same port on this one. You notice this one's got the impulse here. I'm going to take that piston out of there. Come on. Let's look at that again before we change it. 1.5855. $1.5625. So, wow, this is so exciting. The transfer on this is, I don't know, I have to do the math whenever I edit the video. I can't do it right off the top of my head. Okay, so now let's look at the intake. We're gonna go right like this. And we're going to measure the floor. There we are. That's easy. That's 0.6740. Now, if a 3750 is higher performance than that 365, then what we'll see is this number will be smaller. Remember that 0.6740. Oh, come on. There we go. Point 6535. Holy shit, man. Why is this so exciting, guys? Why? It's because the 3750 as compared to the 365, which it was thought to be that the 365 was the same cylinder. It is not. We are proving it in real time. Now we got to measure the exhaust roof. All right, so this is your 365. Pink. 174.95. All right. Now, if this 3750 exhaust is higher, which would lend, if it's higher performance, then the exhaust roof will be higher. So the number will be greater than 174.85. Nope. So it looks like they did not go up on the exhaust roof. Oh, there we go. We got an exact same reading there, 174.85. Let's check another cylinder. This again is a 3750 cylinder. You can tell because of the impulse line. So the number we're trying to beat, which would indicate a higher exhaust roof, would be higher than 174.85. Oh, I missed it. That's 174.70. So what did we learn? What we learned is that the cylinders definitely are different. What it seems to be that they did, I just measured it out. What it seems to be that they did is on the intake, they dropped the floor of the intake for the 3750. For the transfers, they raised the transfers. Yes, that's what they did. They raised the transfers on the 3750, which would give more blowdown. The exhaust height stayed the same. So if they got more blowdown, that would mean that there's more time for the exhaust to start escaping before your fresh charge comes in. It would also mean that your fresh charge in the crankcase would be slightly more pressurized, and so it would come in faster. So that's pretty awesome. I was considering going ahead and before I sent it to Dyno Joe, ripping the 365 cylinder off so that it would have a proper 3750 cylinder on it. But he's going to change the transfer timing anyways. He surely he will do that. And so what's the point in me giving him another cylinder, a different cylinder? It's not much of one that I can see anyways. But with all of this information that I now have, like I've heard it said more than once that the Poulan Super 380 is the holy grail Poulan saw. That's the best. And I'm like, well, no, it's not. It's the same thing as a 3750. It's a 3750 with a handbrake. Well, at this point now, I can see that they may have made differences. Like, for example, this 3750 cylinder, the exhaust they did not raise the exhaust at all. On the Super 380, I bet you they did. So that's very cool. Very cool. Have I told you guys yet that Poulan it makes me think of Chrysler. You know? I mean, Steel and Husqvarna are great. They really are. I mean, if you watch the channel, you know that I don't care a whole lot for Steel. But I mean, I'm not stupid. They make good stuff. They're good saws. It's just not my preference, you know what I mean? I like the Huskies. I like the John Spreads. And I like the Poulans. But the Poulans were very different because they seemed to always be doing something that the other companies wouldn't do. Prime example, like Ford came out with the Ford Ranger, little compact pickup truck. Chevy had the S10 and the GMC S15 and some of these small compact pickup trucks. Well, Dodge comes out with Dodge Dakota, and it was never marketed as a compact truck. It was marketed as a mid-sized truck. But you know what it is? It was a compact truck. But everybody that had the Fords, and remember, I grew up right in the thick of the mini truck phase, right? Whenever people wanted to get a mini truck and throw a V8 in it, they would take a 302 and put in the Ford Rangers, or they'd take a 350 or 305 even and put it in the Chevys. Well, Dodge did it for you from the factory. They were the only ones that did that. The only thing that came close was GM and Chevy went ahead and they made their, the Cyclone and Typhoon, or what were they called? Yeah, but they had a supercharged V6. Anyways, which is great. Those things were awesome, right? But they were hard to get, really expensive and stuff. Dodge, they said, you know what? Bada bing, let's put the 318 in there. And they did, and they kept it, and they kept putting it in there. And then they did the RT, and they put the 5.9, you know, the 360 goes in there. So it's pretty neat, right? They're doing neat little things. You getting all these performance packages, and Poulan did that stuff. And it's really cool. Like, I get how the wild thing is kind of cheesy. I get it. I really get it. But they make a saw that's lime green and purple and call it the wild thing. They step way out on that limb. And they swing for the fences, man. And I think it's cool. You may think that they miss, then they strike out, and maybe they do. But the fact that they get up there with their big chew of beech nut in their cheek and they spit and they swing for the fences, it's cool. And that's why more and more I like Poulan. I mean, hell, they come out with a saw called the Predator, the Timber Master. What else was there? There was a handful of them, I'm telling you. Anyways, the counter vibe stuff is cool. It's just their decal for the counter vibe. It looks so sweet. Now I've got to get my hands on a Super 380. That's what I got to do, because I want to see how different they are from the 3750. I have an idea. So Jim's saw is a Super 380, and he's like blown away by how it revs. It's a very high revving machine is what he's saying. Well, now that we know that there's differences between the 60cc 365, actually this is it, the 60cc 365 cylinder versus the 60cc 3750 cylinder, we know that the intake timing and the transfer timing from this 365 is upgraded and more performance oriented on this 3750. So we can only imagine the next step up from the 3750 is the Super 380. Same cylinder, but Poulan is modifying the port timing because that was their flagship high performance saw. That is fucking cool. So cool. I mean, it's cool that Steel has stuff called the Magnum, but basically that's just bigger as far as I know, which it's still cool. I'm not taking anything away from that. Husqvarna, they step up to the XP level, but whenever they do that, basically it's a model of its own. Like a 357 XP, they don't have a 357 normal. They have a 359, which is a completely different cylinder setup. Imagine if they put out a 357 XP and then they put out a 357 XP Super, and all they did was change the port timing, essentially porting it from the factory. That's so fucking cool to me. I can't wait. If there's anybody out there that has a Super 380 that you would like to get rid of, listen, I am not made out of money. I would need a good deal on this. If you simply have a cylinder, we can work out a deal. I can get the cylinder from you. Even if your cylinder is ruined, I want that cylinder so that I can measure it and see how it stacks up to the other 60cc Poulan saws. That shit's exciting.